Everything else aside, 2020 has been a good year for budget phones. On the Android side, these two are the main contenders, and they couldn't differ more in their approaches. So which one is the right choice for you, Pixel 4a or OnePlus Nord? What's immediately noticeable is that the Nord is a lot bigger than the Pixel 4a. It's also way heavier. But that's not least because of its more premium build. The glass back of the Nord also makes the phone feel a lot more expensive than the Pixel 4a, even though it isn't. And that's not counteracted by the plastic frame either. In my opinion, it also looks very good, especially in this blue color. The Pixel 4a, on the other hand, is one of the most boring phone designs I've seen in a while. It's basically just a grey plastic slab. The colored power button is a nice detail though, and the soft touch back feels nice in the hand. And despite it being made from plastic, the 4a is built very well with nice clicky buttons. While the Nord has the well-known and very handy alert slider on its frame, what you don't find is the headphone jack that the Pixel 4a still has. The 4a also has another advantage in the audio department, and that's its stereo speakers. They not only sound amazing for the price, but quite great in general, with good separation, clarity and volume. The Nord on the other hand just has a mono speaker on the bottom that's comparatively tinny and easy to block. Its haptic vibration motor is high quality though, even if the Pixel's is good as well. Neither phone is certified for water resistance, but I would trust both to survive a drop in the pool if you act fast due to their rubber seals. Overall, just the better speakers on the 4a can't quite make up the Nord's lead in this category. The Nord and the 4a have 1080p AMOLED screens with minimal bezels and a hole punch in the top left. From the front, they both look very modern. The differences lie in the details. The Nord screen is noticeably brighter and more saturated, and of course just bigger. While the Pixel is just on the edge of being manageable with one hand, that's out of the question for the Nord. The Pixel is a bit small for watching videos though. It has an edge in supporting HDR, but because the screen isn't that bright, I don't think this is a big factor. What is a big factor though is that it appears that the lower quality screen glass of the 4a makes it more prone to scratches. And the biggest difference by far is the 90Hz refresh rate. It makes the scrolling and animations much smoother and also more fluid on the Nord. Yes, if you're coming from a 60Hz phone you won't miss it on the Pixel, but when you try it it's a noticeable difference. This display is the main attraction of the Nord, which is why it has this category locked in. If you want more details by the way, it's also worth checking out my dedicated reviews of either phone. The approaches to hardware also are quite different. The Nord comes with the Snapdragon 765 with 8 or 12GB of RAM, while the Pixel only has the less capable 730 paired with 6GB of RAM. Fortunately, both phones have 128GB of storage as a standard. I still remember when budget phones lacked enough storage. And what is also fortunate is that the seemingly big difference in power doesn't actually translate into reality as much. Both the Pixel 4a and the Nord are very fast and fluid phones that manage to get you through Android without any stutters or long load times. The Nord just has a slight edge thanks to its 90Hz screen. Where the difference is noticeable though is in the camera app. The Pixel 4a still takes some seconds to process images after you take them and also can't quite show you live what the image is going to look like in the viewfinder. It's not as bad as it used to be on the Pixel 3a though. And of course the Nord does include 5G, which depending on where you live might or might not be a big factor. I, for example, now have 5G reception in probably 50% of the places I go, and here in the forest around the corner that makes the difference between 10 megabits on 4G and 120 on 5G. That's something to consider, but nothing that makes or breaks the deal. Both phones have very fast fingerprint sensors, but I found the one on the back of the Pixel to be a bit more reliable. The Nord's is below the screen on the front though, which I find a bit more convenient when the phone is lying on a table. While the Pixel certainly isn't slow, 5G and 90Hz also give the Nord a slight edge here. Software is a strong point of both the Nord and the 4a. Either features stock Android, but the Pixel is already on Android 11 while the Nord is still on version 10. It should get the update rather quickly though. The software experience is very polished in either case, the focus is just a bit different. The Pixel has some smart software features like always-on song recognition, while the Nord gives you a lot more customization options. The Pixel also already has a great always-on display, while the Nord will only get that with the mentioned Android 11 update. Overall though, this is a tie. I like the Pixel's approach to the camera a lot better than the one of the Nord. Rather have one camera that is really good than 4 that range from fine to useless. That's because while the Pixel 4a features a single 12 megapixel sensor, the Nord comes with a 48 megapixel main shooter paired with an 8 megapixel wide angle and those two superfluous depth and macro cameras. In bright daylight the Nord isn't left too far behind, but the difference is still there. The Pixel produces sharper and more contrasty shots, and they also have better dynamic range and more natural colors. The Nord on the other hand sometimes has a bit of an unnatural tint and too much brightness. All of this is even more true for the 8 megapixel wide angle on the Nord, which is rather soft but is nice to have when you need it. In low light is where you really start to see them drift apart. While the Pixel still pulls off some breathtaking shots even in very dark scenes, the Nord struggles much more with getting detail back. Its night mode is by no means really bad though. Video recording is much better on the OnePlus Nord, both in terms of stabilization and raw quality. And when it comes to selfies, it isn't that far behind either, with good detail, even if the Pixel is still sharper. The Nord does also have the wide-angle advantage on the front though, even if that camera is much less competent. And in summary, even the two wide-angle shooters don't have the Nord catch up to the Pixel's camera that you can just trust to be wowed by every time you press the shutter button. The battery in the OnePlus Nord is much bigger than the Pixel, but because of the bigger high refresh rate screen, that does not translate into much of a difference in battery life. I get about 5 hours of screen on time on both, that's without gaming though. I'm very thankful that the 4A's battery life is much better than what we had on the Pixel 4. The Nord charges faster at 30 watts versus 18 watts, but the battery on the Pixel is smaller, so that doesn't really make much of a difference. They are both at about 60% in half an hour and full in another 30 minutes. Neither has wireless charging, but what did you expect at this price? Speaking of the price, it's also worth mentioning that the Pixel 4a is still about 15% less expensive than the Nord, which is a factor to consider. I think the final score actually sums up my conclusion quite well, and you could also see the Nord's lead in the first 3 categories, while the Pixel did better in others. And that's really the story. The Nord is the better all-rounder of the two. It's a more thoughtfully designed phone with a better screen, better performance and 5G that also still offers a usably good camera experience, but you do also have to shell out a bit more money for that. The Pixel on the other hand puts all of its focus on the amazing camera, with everything else being fine but nothing special. The Nord would be the phone I would recommend to enthusiasts, gamers and younger people, while the Pixel 4a is probably the better choice for family members or older folks who mainly care about the camera. And of course for everyone who wants a smaller phone, because this is one of only a few good options in that category. If you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press, don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter, and don't forget your mask when you leave the house. I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.